Welcome to the RatPack training and instructional video. I'm going to run through some of the basic features and functionality for the RatPack. Let's start with the 10 channel by 1.2. Powered by 100 amp Bates, unless it's Canadian, in which case it's powered by E1018 Camlock. Let's run through some of the features with Anthony on helping me out here. You have obviously 10 outlets worth 1,000 watts each. Each outlet clearly labeled, 1 through 10. Simple DMX address wheel, currently addressed to 1. There's 3 push buttons. Real simple address wheel. DMX in and out for control. Courtesy outlet, which is always hot. This, believe it or not, is a complete dimmer in one box. All 10 channels, fully dimmable. A great feature of this dimmer is all 10 of these channels are also 100% switchable, which we'll show you in a few minutes. You'll be able to open the control module, select a corresponding dip switch, and make any channel non-dim to act as a switch. Let's start by going through some of the basic functionality. So once you have your dimmer and you want to check to make sure your channels are corresponding one-to-one and dimming correctly, you can use a device like the Swiss-On. I have it addressed to channel 1. I have the light bulb in channel 1. I'm simply going to hit it at 100% and then slowly dim it down. Now I know that channel 1 works correctly. I can do that with all 10 channels. We want to check 2 things. One, that the channels are corresponding with the address. So address 1 corresponds with channel 1 and not something else. Number 2, you want to check to make sure you're not in switch mode. Because it's dimming all the way up or down, you're in dim mode. If you have this set on the switch mode, it'll come on at full when you hit 50%. We'll show you that next.
We're going to go over the processor and a couple things here. First thing you want to do is make sure that all these LED wires, address wires, and everything is secure and fastened. So just take a look at it, give it a nice little press down, make sure that it's in all the way. Also be sure that the wires are clear of the door. The last thing you want is for these wires to get pinched, which will result in them being cut or being pulled out, which will definitely not help. So be sure that when you open and close the door, you have clearance between all these wires and the door. Another thing you'd want to be sure of is these fuses, fuse 1 and fuse 2. Be sure that they're secured and also hot glued. Just a dab of hot glue will do. The value on these should be 3 amps. And if you take a look at the top of the fuse, you'll be able to see that the value is written clearly on the top. It says 3 amps for this one, fuse 1, as well as fuse 2. Now the door is set up with power cutoff features. This happens through the trip switch located here at the bottom right of the door. So when the door is opened, the trip switch will disengage, which will result in an open circuit and cut off the power to the remaining processor. Another thing that provides power to the processor is a 9-pin located right here at J22. Be sure to make sure the 9-pin is pushed down and secured all the way, and that no leads are exposed and no crimps are coming out. Now, a feature that will allow you to set this dimmer to non-dim or dim is located right here at the center of the board with the dip switches. If you take a look, there's 4 separate dip switches. Each are portrayed on the stickers located on the side of the doors, which will indicate which channel each dip switch is in charge of. Now if you take a look here at the digital controller mode switch setting sticker, it'll tell you that switch 2 is in charge of channels 1, 4, 7, and 10. So if you locate switch 2 on the processor, you'll see that there are 4 separate switches. The first one will be channel 1. Now having the dip switch set at the bottom will result in channel 1 being in dim mode. if you'd like to switch channel 1 to non-dim, all you have to do is get to switch 2, locate the first dip switch, and switch it up to non-dim. And if you want to switch it back, just switch it back and it's back into dim mode. Not only are the dip switches in charge of the dim and non-dim settings, but switch 3, located here on the board, is in charge of DMX termination, status quo, square law, and dipper sequence. The only thing you'd be concerned with would be the status quo, which is pin 3. Now the default setting should be up, and this will allow you to keep the status quo for up to 30 minutes. So if any DMX signal is lost, you won't lose the value at the outputs. It'll stay there for 30 minutes. Another thing you'd want to be sure of is the control harnesses. Taking a look at them, making sure that they're secured and fastened. If the control harness is slightly out, such as so, you're going to have signal issues with that whole set of channels. So be sure that it's pushed in all the way, and that the clips are secured and clamped over the sides of the control harness. Also, when doing the visual inspection, be sure that jumper 1, labeled JP1, JP13, 12, and 3 have jumpers applied and that they're securely fastened. A failure to have a jumper applied will result in possible flickering or DMX signal issues. So just take a look at it, push it down, make sure they're fastened all the way. And also take a look at the trip switch right here at the back. And just be sure that the lugs are pushed in and secured. Just give it a nice little tug. And that'll complete the Lunchbox visual inspection of the processor. Again, just be sure when closing it up that you don't catch any wires from the LED or control side. And make sure that it's securely fastened and tightened completely. Thank you.